Okay, so today is, I'm an anthropologist. I'm so used to ethnography, so this is going to be, I'm not trying to make it too formal. I'm sorry.
No,
But
it's
today
fine.
is Friday, February 5th. It's approximately 2:15, 2:10, 2:15. And I am interviewing Crystal Adams. She is one of the winners of the art competition hosted by Spotlight's Programs Board in fall 2015. And she actually won two categories. One was painting, which is a very competitive category, and there were some very incredible pieces throughout that. And so it's a huge honor for Crystal and for me to be in the presence of the winner of that category, as well as the ceramics and glass. Which is an interesting piece by itself, just by that. So, Crystal, just to start things off, how's your day?
It's going well.
Yeah?
Pretty good. I could use some more sleep. I work overnight, so
Oh, yeah,
yeah.
I getcha. I actually slept last night, but I feel more tired than I did yesterday when I slept 2 hours the night before. So it's, I don't, us artists, we operate on such strange schedules.
So true.
You've got a busy day though. You are about to take these paintings of yours to the Woodruff Art Center for the Panthers at Woodruff tonight.
Yeah.
So what's going on there?
Well, Anne reached out to me with Spotlight and asked if I was interested in having my work up in the reception at the Woodruff, and I absolutely was interested. So, looking forward to doing that, just getting as much exposure as possible.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So, could you tell us a little bit about these pieces? I've seen the first one, of course. That's the one that was entered in the competition, but you actually have a series of them. I did not realize. Is this...
Right.
So this is the finished set now? Or you're still working?
I'm still working. I'm still
Okay.
working. So at the time, that was the only one I had completed. So since then, I've finished these two pieces.
Wow.
So it takes some time. So it's still working. So
That's still pretty amazing. Yeah, the Spotlight Art Competition was hosted in mid-November. So in just the past couple of months, you've been able to finish two more pieces.
yeah,
Okay.
I've been working hard.
Okay, and so remind me what the title of that first piece is? One.
Yeah.
Okay. And then do you have titles for the other two?
Yes. This one to the far right is 3, and the one in the middle is 5.
Okay, that's interesting. So are the titles actually spelled out as a word, or is it just the numbers?
The word.
The word?
Yeah.
Okay. So for that first one, title 1, it appears to be an image of a man who half of his leg is shown as an African slave. Well, not half of his leg. One full leg is shown as a depiction of an African slave's leg, and then the other leg looks like it's some sort of referee or uniform, basketball, soccer, maybe.
It's actually the shorts on the contemporary modern day leg. That is the fashion of Off-White brand, which usually in the bold piece right above the kneecap would be the letter written white.
Ah.
But I chose not to include
The brand.
the brands in the shoe that he's wearing. That is the Air Jordan #1
Okay.
shoe. So hence the title 1.
Okay.
Also, I chose not to include the brand, the logo, and on the tongue of the shoe, just because I just like to play with people that are familiar with the brands already know what it is, and people that aren't get to generate their own idea, just like how you did.
Yeah,
as a
I
referee,
did.
as to what it may be, and they draw different ideas based off of what they know or what they see. So by not including brands and logos, I allow the audience to perceive it as they want to.
Okay. Yeah, that's cool. So, was there a purpose that you had behind the painting? Is there a way that you had anticipated the audience to perceive it? Is there a way that you wanted them to? Like, for instance, I thought of like sports, and I remember the first time I looked at this painting, I imagined it to be a representation of Black people and their progress, how they've come from not being able to play sports. Because it looked like I was just thinking of sports at the time. How they've come from not being able to play sports at all, just being completely excluded, to now they're the top sports. They're probably the top athletes in the nation.
Right.
But yeah, was there something that you had wanted people to see in them?
There's not necessarily something that I wanted people to see in them. Mainly, I wanted people to do just what you did, just to perceive it as they wanted to. But there is like context there's a reason as to what it means. For me, you know what I mean? So personally, for everyone, there will be a different meaning. So in doing this, basically that's it. Just plays between the stereotypes of Black men, or Black people in general. Okay, so first, I guess I've gotten the relationship between sports in these pieces, and I've gotten also the reaction of like, because the sneakers are popular sneakers, they're Air Jordans, you know. So I've gotten like, oh, you know, we're a slave to the shoe game, because I know you hear about different robberies and deaths just over these shoes, in particularly, you know, the kids go crazy for them. So I've gotten.
There was that like, Macklemore song, Wings, talking about just that.
Yeah, exactly. So there's it's a popular brand, so people think like, you know, oh, they're slaves to the shoe game, and there's
okay.
They say there's how slavery, how we've came far, but not really. We're still chained to slavery. So I've gotten all different types of responses as to what this is, and I like to hear people's responses before I actually give my personal context, because I don't want to, you know, label it and confine it.
Yeah.
Confine it into one box. So
it's like poetry.
Right. So basically, this series started with me doing a little bit of research, and I came across this slave revolt called the Brig Creole.
Oh, okay. The Brig Creole.
Yes, it was a slave revolt where, which 135 slaves ended up gaining their freedom because they took over the ship. It was en route from Virginia to New Orleans, and they revolted the ship and made them take them to the Bahamas, where there was no slavery there. So that's inevitably how they gained their freedom. So in doing this research, I came across two books, and the first one was called The Creole Affair, and it was written by Arthur Downey. And basically in his book, he talked about the slave revolt a little bit, but his focus on the book was how this was considered to be the biggest and the most important slave revolt in U.S. history because it almost led to our Third World War with the British.
Oh.
So that was his focus in the book, and he was a white man.
So this was like pre-Civil War, post-War of 1812 era.
Yeah.
Okay.
And, yeah. So that was his focus on the book. And then there's another book by Frederick Douglass in which he talks about this event as well. This book is called The Heroic Slave. But in his book, he more so focuses on the slave that actually was the leader of the revolt, named Madison Washington. He actually focused on his story. He kind of made it a non-fictional or a fictional story, actually. Sorry.
He fabricated
some things. Some things were true, some things he, put in there in his novel. So you have these two authors, one white, one black, and they both talking about the same event, but because of their history, their culture, their background, they focused on two different things, which didn't have anything to do with each other, but still surrounded the same event. Mm-hmm. So that's what started me, and that's kind of where I got the 135 slaves.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! Yeah. Wow! Because I was totally thinking,
circle,
where's 2 and 4?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
I just had a thing for odd numbers.
Ah!
Yeah,
that is so much better.
Yeah.
Amazing. Okay. Wow. And so to look at all of these pieces together, arranged in this way, the second piece, titled 3, then is 3. 3 is almost, they all depict the same similar subject matter. One leg looks like a slave that is bound in chains, and the other leg is wearing some sort of branded tennis shoe that is probably very popular, and I'm terrible at pop culture. But a person who would know it would probably recognize it without the brand being there.
Definitely.
I think I did recognize Air Jordan.
All right.
Why else would I know about basketball? And they're I think it's interesting that all of the figures are in different positions, even though, are they supposed to be the same person in each?
No.
No? So it's just,
I'm playing with skin tones a little bit.
yeah.
So in one, you have, you may say he's in a house, maybe, coming off, stepping back on a stairwell or coming down from a stairwell. In the one titled 3, the setting there is a slave ship.
Oh, okay.
And then in 5, he's in the field.
Mm-hmm.
But it depicts more like a football field.
Right.
So
I like how the lace is tied to the chain.
Right.
So it's still connected to him, even if he were to take the chain off. He would
Exactly.
still have a connection to it.
So,
Okay.
yeah, my idea there with the chain is something that I want to continue to flow into each piece. Kind of representation of how we are, Black people are tied to their past in one way or another.
All peoples are
Yeah,
really, if we just don't
definitely.
always accept it and
Exactly.
look into it.
Yeah. So
So, given the story that you just told me about the 135 slave revolts, and that the series is that number, but you said that you're still working on it.
right. So I'm still working on this piece as maybe like as an exhibition type.
Okay.
So I guess the particular series is complete with that. So next, I'm still working on doing things similar like this, just with different events.
Okay.
Or different time periods. The one I'm working on right now moves up from that time period. It's more in the civil rights era. So.
That's far up.
Yeah.
That's like another century.
Right.
Okay. Okay. So is there a goal that you have for your envisioned exhibitions piece? Do you have a certain number of pieces that you'd like to have total for this entire series, or you're just gonna see where it takes you?
Yeah. I'm gonna just see where it goes. I'm not sure how many. I feel like when I'm done, I'll know I'm done. Like, I try not to strategically plan that, like that, because things kind of flow like this. I had no idea what I wanted to do, and then it just through research, and it just came to me. So,
Yeah.
And I feel like that's where the best works come from anyway, when you don't overthink it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's just like as a student, people are constantly asking us, so what are you going to do after you graduate? What are your next plans? Like, and my typical response is just to throw them off, like whatever comes my way.
Yeah.
It's hard to, especially when we live in the art world, we live and breathe and think, and we feel ourselves so connected to art. I'm not particularly an artist, but I devote myself to artists.
Right.
And so I can understand that you don't want to limit yourself, because if you do just put a number to say, I want to have 15 pieces to show in this gallery,
Right.
then either you're going to reach that goal and then you'll feel done, or you're not going to reach that specific goal, and then you'll feel something else that won't be quite as satisfying.
Exactly.
So, but you said that when you first had this idea, you didn't know where it was going to take you, but through the research, what prompted the research?
It's interesting how things have an awkward chain of events that kind of have relation to each other, but not really. So, okay, so before this, and I've always been interested in sneakers. I was that kid lined up trying to get the latest shoe, you know what I mean? Not just so much anymore, but you know how that goes. So when in doing art, a lot of my work, I would set up a still life, so I'll have like a pile of sneakers, and I paint it, but that's all it was. It was just the shoe. It would look nice, but there was nothing else behind it. So I wanted to start creating work that still incorporated something that I like, and so that also sends a message. And so things that are important to me, things that I want my artwork to convey. So I began to do research about my background, my culture, and to find out, what was in my blood as far as, family. So I reached out to my mother, and she gave me a little bit of background about, my great-grandfather, that they were from New Orleans, and that they were Creole, and that he was involved actively and during the Civil Wars, the Civil Rights Movement. And so that, I was like, okay, so I'm Creole. So, I started looking up stuff, and then I think it just came within a Google search, I believe. Like, I honestly don't remember exactly how I came to it, but I just know that was the beginning of it. Then there's Blur in the middle, and then boom, like, this is what I'm gonna do. So it was just a chain of events. It happened really fast, and
Yeah.
it was just like okay.
It's like that sometimes. Yeah. Like whenever I do creative work, I'm a writer. Even then, I recognize that I'm a decent enough writer. I can tell stories, but when I'm trying to come up with a story to tell, and my professors probably won't appreciate listening to this, but most of the time it's just because I have to do the assignment. I hardly ever write stories out of my own measure. That's why I know I'm not intrinsically a writer, but I do love editing. But whenever I am trying to think of something for a new piece, just from the writer's perspective, you have to take it from things that you know. You have to show what you know, and you have to write from what you know. And just like with your paintings, you knew that you like shoes, but you wanted to convey a more important message so that people that aren't quite as interested in shoes can still be able to relate and
Right.
still take away something, even if it isn't necessarily something that is so personal to them, but they can still appreciate it. Like I'm mixed with all sorts of different things when it comes to my ethnicity and my heritage. Mainly, my father is from New Orleans. He's from the other side though. He's Cajun, whereas you're Creole. So it's like, but I think we can still have an appreciation for that background, even considering our differences. So it's fantastic. What about your other works? Has this what has been taking up all of your time, or do you have
Pretty much,
other things
yeah.
that you're working on?
I've been focusing on this right now. Yeah, that's what I've been working on.
Yeah?
It's nothing really else. I'm trying to build a strong portfolio because I'm thinking about grad school, so I'm trying to push this right now.
It's a good thing to push.
Yeah, I still dibble and dabble in other things just to get my mind off of it because it's not, good to zone in on one thing. So that's where I sew a little bit. I do something outside of the medium of painting just to exercise my other artistic skills.
Yeah,
My
that's
ceramics,
good.
Yeah,
That's good. Yeah, the ceramics piece. That was. There was only one, so it was kind of default, but still, it was a very interesting piece. I honestly, you might not appreciate this, but when I first saw it, I didn't have my glasses on, right? And I'm nearsighted. I can't legally drive without my glasses. And when I first saw it, it was across the room in that giant ballroom in the student center.
Right.
And I looked at it and I really thought that it was one of the vicious little creatures from this horror film. I can't even remember what the film was, but I literally thought that's what it was. And so when I got up closer and I noticed that it had tusks, like, oh, maybe it is a creature. But then I was like, oh, it's an elephant. So could you describe about what that is?
Oh, that was a project for my hand building class a few semesters ago, maybe 2 or 3 semesters ago. So we had to make a writing, which is it's a drinking. It's like a cup
Apparatus.
Yeah, that I don't know where it came from, honestly, the history of it, but they used to use it and drink out of it to celebrate something or another. I'm not sure.
What is it again?
Yeah.
A writing?
Yeah, writing.
So like R.
I think RHYTON.
Huh. Okay.
Writing. So the idea of it, from what Tyler, that was my professor's name, told me, is that they used to, fill it with liquor, and it wasn't meant to be put down. Like you had to hold it and drink it all.
Sounds like Vikings.
Yeah, yeah, like you had to hold it and drink it all, and so the idea was if you put it down, the liquor would spill out. You know what I mean? So you had to hold on to it and celebrate, whatever. So we had to make a writing, which is made. They would use like animal themes when they made them, and he said we had to use a animal that was prehistoric. So. But not like the traditional prehistoric. So like before the mammoths even. So because you would think a mammoth would be the one, but there were actually it was a weird. I don't know why I can't remember the name of what it was before a mammoth, but their tusks used to grow out of their chin in this position. And so I love elephants. That's my favorite animal. So I wanted to do that, definitely, without a doubt. Definitely a challenge. Like, I got halfway done with it at one point, and the whole thing just collapsed on me. Like, the clay is so difficult to manipulate. Like, if it's too wet, it's gonna fall apart. If it's too dry, it'll fall apart. Like, you have to have this perfect balance in between everything when you're doing with it. And then even after, if you do everything you think perfectly, you can put it in the kiln and it could blow up. Like, you just never know. It's so risky. It's stressful.
That sounds stressful.
Yeah, that was a stressful class. Very time consuming. But yeah, that took me forever. But I was definitely happy with the results when I got done with it. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, it was crazy. Stressed out thinking about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was, that
So
was that piece.
it sounds like no matter what you're working on, even if you're not entirely familiar with it, you will go to all lengths to conquer it so that you will be satisfied with the piece by the end.
Yeah.
And that's a quality that a true artist has, and it's something that like people like me appreciate to no ends. And what about outside of your painting and your artist life? Who is Crystal Adams when she's not working on her art? Or I already know about the shoe bit, but what do you like to do?
That is life. That is what I like to do, art. But if I'm not doing art, I have to honestly say that something I'm doing is still in relation to art. Even like, I like to go to the museum. I like to, my idea of fun is like I have friends that will model for me and I'll draw them. that's what my idea of fun. But I guess I do the normal. I don't really go to the movies. I don't bar hop or go to the clubs. I'm pretty much art life. Yeah. Yeah. That's
Okay.
and I work. So I have a job. So I work overnight.
Wow, that's tough.
So.
Because art is a full-time job.
Yeah, definitely.
All the time.
So basically, that's it. Because when school, I've taken 5 classes. This is my final semester. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
I've either taken 5 to 6 classes, and I work overnight. So there it is. So then on the weekends, or I'm catching up on schoolwork. So
Yeah.
my social life is slim to none.
I got you.
But yeah,
I understand completely. I have enough time to maybe if my roommate is home, I can talk to her, and she and I are so close. We love each other to death.
That's
We've been
great.
living together for a couple years. And then there's the cat. So that's what I've got time for basically right now. But okay.
Yeah.
Let's see how much. Speaking of time, so we've been at it for about half an hour. Was there anything that you especially wanted to say to your audience? This is your opportunity. This is something that we will be featuring in the digital edition of the spring 2016 issue, which means that it will be broadcast to the world. So, no pressure.
No pressure, right? um, well, I guess I just want I just want my work to speak for itself, honestly. I would like for people to, I would like for my work to evoke emotions that are, thoughts that people rarely think about or try to put in their subconscious. Like,
You want people to consider the things that should be considered, but they don't always consider it.
definitely, yeah, yeah. So yeah, my next work is. I mean, because I've even people have said that it makes them a little uncomfortable, like my work, just because it's you see this the foot of a slave and it's chained to like it might come off offensive to some people, but it's history and it happened, so why it shouldn't be buried? Like it's going to be carried with you, regardless. So. Might as well put it out there. Yeah. But this next work is definitely probably going to be a bit more provocative than what This to me isn't that, but my next work is definitely going to turn some heads. So.
Well, that is so exciting.
Yeah.
When are you planning on finishing it? Or, well, not planned, but when do you
Yeah.
think it will be finished?
Definitely before June.
Okay.
So I'm trying to shoot for 3, but I'm still like playing with my sketches and exactly how I want to lay it out. So I'm shooting for the end of May, beginning of June
Okay.
for the next 3.
Oh, that's so exciting. Okay, well, before she goes too far and reveals anything that we can't reveal yet, thank you so much, Crystal, for joining me today and for showing me a little bit more of your arts.